Tonight, this is Theodore reporting, and what we are about to unpack is not just another piece of celebrity gossip drifting through the internet, but a layered, uncomfortable narrative that forces a closer look at power dynamics, age gaps, Hollywood culture, and the carefully maintained public images of some of the biggest names in entertainment. At the center of this storm is Leonardo DiCaprio, a man whose career has been defined by critical acclaim, iconic roles, and environmental activism, but increasingly overshadowed by a pattern in his personal life that has sparked ongoing scrutiny. Alongside him is Hilary Duff, a former child star who has quietly re-emerged into the spotlight, not with scandalous interviews or direct accusations, but through something far more subtle and arguably more powerful: her music. What we are seeing unfold is a case where lyrics, past timelines, and public behavior intersect in a way that raises more questions than answers. And Theodore is here to walk you through every piece of it. Now, the conversation begins with a long-standing narrative surrounding Leonardo DiCaprio, a pattern that has become almost a cultural meme at this point. Over the years, observers have pointed out that his romantic partners tend to fall within a very specific age bracket, typically early 20s, with many relationships reportedly ending as those partners approach their mid-20s. This pattern has not only fueled online discourse, but has also led to broader discussions about age dynamics in Hollywood relationships. While there is no law against two consenting adults dating, the consistency of this pattern has led critics to question what it says about preferences, maturity, and power imbalance in an industry where influence and status carry enormous weight. Enter Hilary Duff, whose recent musical release, particularly the song Mature, has reignited speculation about a previously unconfirmed connection between her and DiCaprio. Theodore wants to be very clear here. Duff has not directly confirmed that the song is about DiCaprio, but she has also not denied it. And in the world of entertainment, that gray area often speaks volumes. The lyrics themselves are what caught the public's attention first. Lines suggesting a man who seeks younger versions of the same woman, combined with imagery that hints at luxury, secrecy, and emotional confusion, have led fans to draw connections that are difficult to ignore. One lyric in particular stands out, referencing a Basquiat, which immediately connects to Jean-Michel Basquiat, the legendary artist, whose works are owned by only a select few collectors worldwide. This is not a casual reference. It is specific, targeted, and tied directly to DiCaprio, who has been publicly associated with Basquiat artwork. That connection becomes even more complex when we bring in Joe Low, the controversial financier linked to a massive global corruption scandal. DiCaprio was reportedly gifted a Basquiat piece by Low, artwork that later had to be surrendered to authorities due to its connection with misappropriated funds. This is not speculation. This is documented history. And when a lyric aligns this precisely with a known fact, it adds a layer of credibility to the theory that Duff is referencing a real individual rather than crafting a fictional narrative. But Theodore is not stopping there, because the details continue to stack up. Another lyric references parking at Carbon Beach to avoid being seen, a detail that aligns with DiCaprio's former Malibu property, a high-profile location known for its exclusivity and privacy. This suggests a relationship that may have been intentionally kept out of public view, raising further questions about timing, context, and why such secrecy would have been necessary. Was it simply a desire for privacy, something many celebrities value, or was there a deeper reason tied to optics and perception? Now, stepping back into the timeline, we also see that Duff's earlier work may contain clues. A song from 2007 includes a line referencing a man born in 1974, which happens to be the birth year of Leonardo DiCaprio. Again, this is not definitive proof, but when combined with current lyrics, historical patterns, and public speculation, it builds a narrative that is difficult to dismiss outright. And while Duff maintains a careful stance in interviews, describing the song as inspired by a brief experience and acknowledging that some artistic liberties were taken, she does not shut down the speculation. In fact, her reaction suggests a level of amusement, even intrigue, at the public's attempts to decode the meaning. Adding another layer to this unfolding story is Duff's husband, Matthew Coma, who has played his own role in fueling the conversation. Through social media posts that hint, tease, and provoke, Coma has kept the speculation alive, even as Duff downplays his comments as trolling. But Theodore notes that in today's digital landscape, even trolling can shape narratives, especially when it aligns with existing theories and public curiosity. Now, it is important to consider alternative interpretations because not everyone is convinced that DiCaprio is the subject of Mature. Some have pointed to Joel Madden, Duff's former partner, whose relationship with her in the early 2000s has also been widely discussed due to their age difference at the time. Madden was significantly older when they began dating, and by today's standards, that relationship would likely face intense scrutiny. However, there are key differences that make this theory less convincing. Duff and Madden have maintained a civil, even friendly relationship over the years, and there is little indication of unresolved tension that would inspire a song with such pointed lyrics. So, where does that leave us? Theodore sees a pattern emerging, not just in DiCaprio's dating history, but in how these stories surface, evolve, and are interpreted by the public. Hollywood has long been a place where age gaps are normalized, where power imbalances are often overlooked, and where narratives are carefully managed. But in the current cultural climate, those patterns are being re-examined, questioned, and in some cases, challenged. What makes this situation particularly compelling is that it's not being driven by a direct accusation or a headline-grabbing interview. Instead, it's unfolding through art, through subtle references, through a puzzle that the public is actively trying to solve. And in doing so, it highlights the shifting dynamics of celebrity culture, where audiences are no longer passive consumers, but active participants in shaping the narrative. At the same time, it is crucial to approach this story with a level of caution. Allegations, implications, and interpretations are not the same as confirmed facts. While the connections are intriguing and in some cases striking, they remain part of a broader conversation rather than a definitive conclusion. Duff herself has maintained ambiguity, and without explicit confirmation, the story remains open-ended. But ambiguity does not diminish impact. In fact, it often amplifies it, because what we are seeing here is not just a question of who a song is about, but a reflection of larger issues within the entertainment industry. Issues of age, power, image, and the ways in which relationships are perceived and judged. As Theodore signs off on this developing narrative, one thing is clear: this is not a story that will fade quickly. Whether through further interviews, additional music, or continued public speculation, the conversation is likely to evolve. And as it does, it will continue to challenge not only how we view these individuals, but how we understand the systems and cultures that shape their lives. This is Theodore, and tonight's story is a reminder that in Hollywood, the most revealing truths are not always spoken directly. Sometimes they are hidden in plain sight, waiting to be heard, decoded, and understood.